Elitism in the gaming community. Let's talk about it. My name is Spirit Wolf and I yap about a lot of shit that I'm passionate about. Welcome. Exclusionary elitism, also known as a superiority complex and or a dick measuring contest based on literally nothing, except how much you like something, and God forbid somebody likes it more. An arbitrary fucking scale. Now, it's rampant in the gaming community. Admittedly, it's not as bad as other communities. Looking at you, car community, which I'm also in. It's suffering. Now, a constant thing that I've seen come up over the years, and I don't know if this is just because I've been in a lot of gaming circles for a very, very long time, or if somehow I'm always getting the bad end of the stick. I don't know. But elitism, again, comes in very different ways. And one of those ways is if somebody says that they are a fan of a game series, but they haven't played any games that they're not. That is a very, very commonly contested point, and I've seen it time and time and again, and it bothers me so fucking much, because if we talk about sports fans and how they go and watch every single game and they consider themselves a sports fan, no one bats an eye. And mind you, this also encompasses if they've never played the sport whatsoever themselves. The legitimacy of their enjoyment and the legitimacy of them being a fan of football is never put under scrutiny or question, so why it infests other places, I have no clue. Now, let's not forget that gaming really just isn't accessible to everyone. More so that it's not even mainstream still. It's very fucking expensive. Like, God forbid, if my PC ever makes a random noise that shouldn't, I'm sat here praying to every deity that could possibly exist that nothing happens to my RAM or my GPU because I can't afford $6 million fucking dollars to replace them. I cannot imagine somebody trying to build a PC from scratch nowadays just to play a video game. And this encompasses a broad number of things. A lot of us don't have the luxury of playing video games all day. I'm in a very, very privileged position where that's the majority of what I do, and it's great. Not everyone has that luxury. Some people have jobs, some people have other worldly obligations, and YouTube is somehow the more accessible way of consuming the rest of that game, or the rest of that game series in general. That's just how it be. Not only that, but not all games are cross-platform. You shouldn't have to buy a console and a PC and a PlayStation in order to continue your favorite titles. Not everyone can afford that. I remember with Halo, that started out on PC by the way, Micro Slop looking at you with absolute fucking daggers. I was working 2 jobs and I was able to buy an Xbox One in order to play Halo 5, which was coming out as an exclusive to the console. This is not something that everybody is able to do. That was a rarity even for me because I grew up very, very poor and unable to play a lot of games simply because it required me buying a console or a high-end PC. Which PC parts weren't even that expensive back in the day, but now they're even worse. And you expect people to have accessibility to all of this? This all in all kind of promotes this class exclusive mentality amongst everything, that if you can't afford to follow up with your favorite franchise or your favorite series because you don't have the time to play the game correctly, quote unquote, that somehow that makes you less of a fan, that somehow makes your enjoyment of it less valid. And what the fuck are we doing? Let's be so for real, what are we doing? And mind you, this affects a lot of places where people won't be forthright about how they got their platinum achievements. For example, in Resident Evil, you get infinite ammo to help you with the harder difficulties in order to progress and get all of the achievements. Now, a lot of people won't admit that they used infinite ammo because they feel like they have something to prove. They feel like if they do say that they used infinite ammo, that God forbid the fact that they went out of their way to get those achievements is suddenly undermined, when it really shouldn't be. We're all there, we're all love the video game, and we replayed it enough times to get all the achievements. That's perseverance, that's passion, that's dedication, irrespective to whether you used infinite ammo or not. And I myself just recently tried to platinum Resident Evil 3, and it was the most painful fucking experience with the final boss fight on Inferno. And I threw myself at it for hours until I started hating the game and hating everything around me. It was no longer fun. And I was so close because I had 2 more achievements to get, and I didn't want to just give up at that point, so I started looking up a couple of guides, tried them out, still miserably failed. And then I found somebody that pointed me in the direction of the DLC, which has the defense coins and the dodge roll coins. Let me tell you, that made it infinitely better. I didn't hate myself after I finally got it, and I did still feel achieved. I did still feel prideful for the fact that I'm not an achievement hunter. I don't like platinuming games because more often than not it's a miserable experience for me. I'm just not wired for that kind of pattern recognition and that kind of drills to make sure that you get that hairline fucking parry, because you'll die from one hit, and it's just not fun for me, and that's okay. But like, sometimes for some games I still want to go out of my way to get those achievements because I enjoy it enough to try, and it shouldn't matter that the DLC there exists, as per fucking Capcom themselves, so they knew that that difficulty wouldn't really be achievable for a majority. Now, aside from the obvious, this can breed a lot of issues, up to and including people not feeling like they can be genuine about how they got their platinum runs, or how they completed a specific game, or a specific segment in a game, or even how they do speedruns as an example. Obviously, the speedrunning community has their own kind of rules as well, but even there is a huge semblance of elitism, of just like, well, I did it glitchless. Okay, I didn't. Why should that matter? Why does one person's merits mean that suddenly it disparages from the other ones? And that's a constant state that I see where people aren't being genuine because they have this kind of superiority complex that, well, I did it because I was skillful, obviously. Man, I thought we just loved video games. I thought that's what it was supposed to be. God fucking forbid we enjoy ourselves instead. But you know, that's a whole other thing, ain't it? I guess. Jesus Christ. I guess at the end of the day, what I'm trying to get at is just enjoy games. Be genuine. If you used infinite ammo, who fucking cares? If you did glitch or speedrun, you know what? You got more patience than me because you memorized the shit out of that map in order to get it in like 5 minutes when it took me like 5 hours. Congratulations, that's fucking awesome. That's a huge achievement. You should be proud of yourself, and don't let anybody take away from that. This elitist mentality is genuinely so toxic, and I don't know if I just keep getting, again, the short end of the stick. But I've seen it so much and I've been exposed to it so much that I've had it up to here. I've had it up to here, honestly. My secondary point that I just completely forgot to record at the time of this was just how exclusionary it is to anybody getting into a franchise. Like, God fucking forbid trying to get into anything that's been going on for like 5+ years. Anything that isn't a new IP is borderline impossible and insufferable because fan bases continuously harbor this just hatred towards anybody that isn't academically studied upon the subject. And honestly, to expect that from anybody is fucking stupid. Not to mention unrealistic. Let's just all acknowledge that there's probably things that we don't know even about our favorite franchises, and that's okay. I guess the TLDR reminder of all of this is gaming is not accessible to everyone, and however they choose to consume it and be a fan of it should be fucking valid. There is no gauge in how you could be a fan of something because you don't know XYZ characters from obscure game that came out before they were even a fucking thought in the womb. That shouldn't be the case. There shouldn't be prerequisites to saying that you're a fan of something. There shouldn't be this gatekeepy elitist, like, mentality that breeds in so many different spaces in so many different ways that has people feeling like they have to be disingenuous in order to just be accepted at face value as a fan of whatever thing. Now, also bearing in mind, none of these points have even so much as scraped the surface of people who aren't able-bodied enough to play video games, whether it's for a long period of time or even at all. And that's not to say that any of this is done with actual malicious intent, but it is incredibly difficult to remember that there are other perspectives outside of your own lived one, or even what you're around. It's why it's incredibly vital to have opinions and perspectives outside of your own, rather than having an echo chamber parroting the same beliefs back to you. You need to have your belief systems and perspectives consistently challenged in order to keep them fresh, in order to keep them valid, in order to keep them even relevant to yourself, because we're fluid and we change. Sometimes our opinions and views will change over time, and that's okay. We are subject to growth. That is a good thing. And it's the same with perspectives of other lives and other lived experiences. But I digress. Anyway, if you've gotten this far, I appreciate you immensely. Go check out the stream. I play a variety of games. Somehow I always end up on horror. I don't know how it happens, but I'll see y'all in the next one.